Yo, what's going on out there, players? Finally, football has come back to the world. Minister of Intense, Jersey Joe, in here, welcoming you to a new podcast called Football is Life. Now, what am I talking about? Football is life. Well, check this out. I'm talking about how the game of American football mirror images and parallels the game we call life. With all its distortions, dust, chips, different types of light, you can clearly see the violence, the sexualization, the boring points in the game, the commercial breaks. We need to understand how the game is being played so we don't get played. If we are serious about winning, we need to know the structure and tactics of the game. Because Herm Edwards is serious when he says, you need to play to win the game. Chiefs and Jet fans, you know what I'm talking about. I encourage you, study, analyze, consider how the game of life is structured and how it's being played out on a far more serious and intense level. Isn't life far more serious and intense than American football? Pat Tillman, the safety of the Arizona Cardinals, thought so. He became an Army Ranger and was killed in Afghanistan after 9/11 because he believed in winning on the highest levels of life. Football is life is all about conditioning our heads to understand and analyze American football so we're conditioned to play to win the game of life because the playoffs are coming. Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? That's right, Jim Mora. We're talking about playoffs and the Super Bowl. Saints fans, you know the agony and torture of making it so close but having it stolen and taken away just like that. To lose when you're so close. Don't let it happen to you. With so many aspects of American football mirroring and paralleling the game of life, we're going to begin with the big picture and gradually focus in on the small details. Football is Life is going to take you from the very beginnings of American football and break down every aspect of the game and how it mirrors and parallels the game of life. So if you've never watched American football before, you'll learn the game inside and out. I've been a football fan since 1983, and I've played on the Pop Warner, high school, college, and semi-pro levels, so I know a little bit about the game. But we're going to have people on the inside that will share the true nature of the game, maybe like you've never seen it before. So if you're not watching college and professional football, I encourage you, start watching. Football is Life will make it easier for us to wrap our heads around the true nature of the game, the structure of the game, tapestry, tactics, how it's being played, winning, losing, and tying, like this. These are major points of the game: structure, tactics, winning, losing, and tying. As in football, so is the game of life. Now, this podcast is for everyone. Everyone. Every gender, every race, every religion, every political party, every nation. The discussion is open to everyone. This is an interactive podcast. Everyone is welcome to join in the conversation. I'm not just going to share information. Everyone is encouraged to share what you know and what you've been through. Knowledge gives power. Power is what we need to do to win this game of life. Now, I'm going to warn you, we will be getting into heated discussions where people will be screaming at the top of their lungs. Hey, trash talk is part of the game, players. People are passionate about their beliefs. Passionate. My friend Alan and I have been through this numerous times. But after every heated argument, at the end of the day, it was all love. It has to be all love. We would be losers to expect to win as human beings if every heated argument ended in us hating each other and not communicating. That's how wars end people's lives. Unfortunately, God allows anyone to say anything, even if it's outright lies and provocations to violence. Fortunately, God gives the spirit of self-control, so heated arguments don't end in violence. They end in a greater understanding of the game of life and how we can help each other win. And that's what football's life is all about. So let's take a look at the structure of the game of football and life. The structure is a tapestry. Now check this out. Have you ever seen the tapestry? When I was a teenager, my sister and I used to watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade all the time. So Indiana Jones tells his butler that he's come to the castle to see the tapestries. At that time, I was like, who the heck wants to see tapestries? But a couple of years ago, I went to the city of brotherly love, not to see the eagles fly high, but to see the tapestries. The Philadelphia Museum had these tapestries that were 15 by 20 feet tall, twice as high as the crossbar on a football goalpost. These tapestries were immense and detailed. The detail in these tapestries was a shock. It was a big picture. When we look at the big picture, we consider a tapestry like the Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears. And that looks like this. This is the tapestry. We are on one side of the tapestry, and at some point in time, or at a time, we will experience the other side of the tapestry. We can see what a football tapestry looks like, and this is what the tapestry of life looks like. Funny how science calls time and space a fabric. What is the structure of life? In Football is Life, we're going to be talking about the elements of the game. In the big picture, we've got the superatomic that influences, creates, and manipulates the atomic and subatomic. In life, we call this the abode of God, or in football, the front offices. We also have what we call the afterlife. When the human soul and spirit leave the body, where does it go? That's what we call the Hall of Fame. In many different writings and religions, we hear about people going to the other side. And what is the other side? It's the Hall of Fame. That's where the players go when they retire. And where was all this location? It's outside of the heavens and the planets and the earth, outside of the universe. The stadium, the playing field of the heavens and planets and earth. We've got an amazing tapestry. This mess of threads on this side of the tapestry is really what we're dealing with here when it comes to life itself, the structure of life. We see this structure. It's a structure that we look at and we say, well, who thought of that? Who thought of creating this thing? Who's in charge of making this thing? Who has the vision to make it look like the way it looks? And in life, we see that there must be a designer, a creator, a weaver of this tapestry. In football, we call it the owners or the coaches. They're in charge of making what American football is supposed to look like, what they want it to look like. And in life, we call owners and coaches God and angels. And when we consider what they're doing, we also consider that it didn't just come about and show up like this. It came about because someone had the vision, someone had the needle and the threads to create this kind of tapestry. And in this tapestry, we're talking about technology, weaponry, architecture. Is as amazing as the architecture of the universe and planets and Earth are. Down here on Earth, we have architecture that is far beyond what we think sometimes humans are capable of. And with this needle, these owners and coaches are pushing the threads of human and animal life along. When you look at this tapestry, you can clearly see that it didn't just pop up just out of nowhere. It had to start from somewhere. And there had to be planning to make it look like this. It didn't just happen all of a sudden, but those on the other side of the tapestry were looking at the big picture. We have in the universe and planets and Earth this mess of threads. We're trying to figure this game of life out. And it's difficult. It's almost impossible if we don't have the owner and coaches showing us the big picture. And that's what football's life is all about. Learning the big picture. So we look at this tapestry, but we also know that there are tactics to this game and how this game is being played. Now, how are you playing this game of life? What kind of tactics are you using? What methods are you using to play this game? And in this game, we know that there are components and circuits. There is a power flow. There are people, there are games being played. There's movement. There are a lot of moving parts in this game. And we need to understand the power flow of how this game is working. Now, for all my electrical engineers out there, let's keep it basic, but you know that there is a battery. There is potential power in these volts. Just like the quarterback has an arm, there's potential for that quarterback to do something with his arm. From the battery comes the power, the amps, the lights, signals, ignition. That's what the power is flowing to, right? Just like the quarterback has wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs, sometimes even offensive linemen. You know what I'm talking about. But this is the amps. This is the power. This is the components that this power is running through. But you also have, running along wires, you have ohms. Ohms are resistance, like cornerbacks and safeties are trying to resist that quarterback's throw to his receivers. So the amps and the ohm are with the electrical. And this is how we look at life, is a power flow. Now this gets complicated, but we're going to try and keep it simple. You have your when, your where, your who, your what, how, and why. Keep it simple, all right? We're going to get into the components as we go along. But for now, we're looking at all these components of time, all of these levels that we are living on, the who of the game, what, how, and why, what's going on during this game, what's going on with the structure of the game, and how is it being judged, and ultimately, the bottom line is winning, losing, and time, and your post game, figuring out why you won, lost, or tied. And this is the bottom line we are going to be getting into. Winning, losing, and tying. The results of our tactics. The results of how we're playing the game. What is happening because of what we're doing to win, and do we really believe that we are winning? Do we feel we're winning, or do we feel like we're losing? Do we feel like we're wasting our time? This is where we need to have a game plan, because in life, there's always games being played, and we are all about winning and not losing and not tying. Proverbs 14:12 says, when you look at the wisdom of who came before us, it says, there is a way upright to the faces of man. We have options in front of our faces presented before us that seem like they're right. But, and last of her ways of death. In the end, those ways lead to death. So how do we know? what's winning and what's losing. What are our options? What are the options we're looking at, and what are the methods we're using to get to what we think is winning? Do we really win in the end, or are we losing? This is the game of life. Just as in football, the game of life is all about winning and losing, and not losing, and not time. We want to win. We want to win on the highest levels. And this is what football is life is all about. Now we're going to get into different strategies of how to play this game. We're going to look at the different components, and we're going to get wild in this game. We're going to get crazy with football as life. We're going to get real. We're not going to have anybody holding back. You know, we're not about censorship here. You can say what you want. God doesn't prevent anybody from saying nothing. But there are consequences. There is winning and there is losing by what you speak and what you do. And that's what we're going to get into every Sunday night. I'm going to be coming on the drawing board, and every Wednesday night on the drawing board, and then every Monday night at halftime, and every Thursday night at halftime, we're going to go live streaming. I want to know what you think, what you've been going through. I want your consideration. What do you consider is the true nature of the game, and how you're planning on winning and what you're doing to win? So until the next episode, keep your heads on a swivel and be blessed.